Hello everyone, Gary Elysiums here. Welcome back. This is part 2 of my complete vinyl collection. Now, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please go hit the subscribe button, because not only will you be able to support my channel, but you'll be able to get updates every time I post a video. For instance, this series where I'm showing my complete vinyl collection, and as I said in part 1, this is going to be broken down in 8 parts. So we're going to get into part 2, and if you didn't watch part 1, I suggest you go back and come back to this video. So at the end of part 1, we left off with the B's, middle of the B section. We're doing these in alphabetical and chronological order. So basically I'm doing one of these cubes here at a time. There's 8 cubes, and we're moving on to the second one. And like I said, we're picking up with the B's. We did do left with a Jeff Beck one, and we're continuing with Jeff Beck. This is Jeff Beck Wired, his great instrumental album. This one was my uncle's. So this is an original copy from, I believe, 76. And that's why the ringware is there, because it's so old. So another reason why I keep these plastic on there. Next up, we have Big Brother and the Holding Company. This is an original pressing in stereo. The later pressings did say Big Brother Holding Company featuring Janis Joplin. So for those of you that do not know, this is Janis Joplin's first band. This is her debut vocal performance on record. Really good album. Bye Bye Baby opens it up. I always love that track. Caterpillar, kind of a fun song, really cool. It's got the great psychedelic colors there, released in 1967, fitting for the times. Then I had the follow-up. This is their big album, Cheap Thrills. After this album, Janis would leave and go pursue a solo career without Big Brother and the Holding Company. This features a classic, Piece of My Heart. Other awesome tracks in here like Ball and Chain, Summertime, which is a cover of George Gershwin's classic. Next up, High on the Hog. This is Black Oak, Arkansas. Black Oak, Arkansas, kind of like a southern rock band. This features Jim Dandy, which was probably their biggest hit and most well-known song. But the one thing about Black Oak, Arkansas, the singer's actually name is Jim Dandy, and David Lee Roth basically, not almost say rip him off, but he modeled himself after him. Kind of not fully the singing style, but the looks, the way he danced on stage, the way he jumped. So yeah, Jim Dandy, big influence on David Lee Roth. Next up, we have what is probably, in my opinion, the greatest heavy metal album of all time, only because of the significance. It just has everything. It's just doomy. There's distortion on it. I mean, the cover art is amazing. It's so simple, yet so eerie and so creepy and scary at the same time. And on the back cover, you got the crow there sitting on the dead tree. Black Sabbath, just an amazing album. I love it. Consists on 5 tracks altogether, but the third track on side 1 is broken down to the Wasp, Behind the Wall Sleep, basically, and NIB or Nib. And the second side 2, the last track, is broken into 3 parts: A Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning. And just an amazing record overall. I love it. Just so good. Next up, we have the sophomore album from Black Sabbath, released in the same year in England. This is Paranoid. A lot of people don't like this cover art, but for me, I just feel like at this point it's so iconic that I kind of just accept it. Amazing album. A lot of people rank this as one of the greatest heavy metal albums of all time. I agree. It's also one of the greatest albums of all time, not just to keep in one subgenre, which is heavy metal. Then I have the third album from Sabbath. This is Master of Reality. This is I'm gonna pull out a sleeve here so you can see better. Master of Reality is just written in black and embossed on the cover. Black Sabbath's also embossed but in purple. Another iconic cover art. I know a lot of these covers differ. Some are written in pink and green, some are purple and gray. I know on CD it's the original CD I think was purple and gray, then the remaster is all in purple. So yeah, a little bit of variations, but I believe this was the the original release. And next up we have Volume 4. Cool cover there of Ozzy in the yellow. Another iconic cover. Do not have Sabbath Bloody Sabbath yet, but I do have Sabotage. Sabotage was pretty hard for me to find a original pressing This one is a little beat up the cover, but I got it for under 10 bucks, so I couldn't pass it up. And the vinyl's in great shape. Vinyl plays great, looks immaculate. So yeah, if I find, you know, later on, I may replace the cover or I may not. Next up, Never Say Die. It's the last album they would do with Ozzy before he would come back, and they would do the 13, which is their last studio album. This is an underrated album in my opinion. A lot of people don't like it, but I do like it a lot. Really great cover. I mean, in great shape. I'm not gonna say it's a great cover, but in great shape. Unfortunately, it looks like an album, whoever owned this previously, they had an album against it, it got wet or whatever, and the paper kind of ran off on here. But I didn't want to peel it off because I didn't want to damage this actual cover art. But this is another reason that I keep these plastic sleeves on there. And not that I would have my albums exposed to water or anything like that, but you know, you never know. So these plastic sleeves keep everything, you know, divided and in, you know, the best shape that I can keep them in. Next up, we have the second album that featured Ronnie James Dio on vocals. This is Mob Rules. Really cool cover art. One of those covers you can just stare at over and over again and take a lot of different things from it. And this one, sadly, is also damaged. Born Again. Amazing album featuring Ian Gillan on vocals. Obviously, Ian Gillan from Deep Purple Mark II. But yeah, got this used, and this just really nasty ripped off cover on it. But again, I think I got it for under 5 bucks, and the vinyl plays great, and I couldn't pass it up at the time, and I figured, well, I'll just keep it until I can find another copy to replace this with. Next up, we have, this is Blackfoot, Tomcattin'. I think I only listened to this once. Blackfoot, a great southern rock band. I'm a big fan of Blackfoot Strikes, but I'm not that familiar with their other material. Ricky Medlock started with Leonard Skinner. He's back in Leonard Skinner now on guitar. But overall, just some cool southern rock to listen to. Not really boring at all. These are all originals on here. I thought there might have been a cover, but they're all original songs on here. Alright, next up is Blind Faith. I'm going to show this. This is the censored cover, which is basically the back cover of the original copy that was released in the United States. And I have the uncensored cover. I'm going to just block it. Maybe I'll just use something to block it with. There we go. I didn't want to get banned on YouTube by showing this or my video. So basically this was a young girl. I don't even know how old she was at the time. Kind of weird. But I'm not a pervert. I just wanted it because it was the original cover. And it's in really, really great shape. Alright, next up, Blind Melon. This is Soup. This is their sophomore release, and sadly their last album featuring the late Shannon Hoon on vocals. Great album. I like it a lot. I like it much more than their debut album. It's got you know, some really rockin' songs in there, some grungy stuff, kind of stuff. This is a 180 repress released in 2016. Original released in 1995. Next up, Blood Sugar. I was gonna say Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. The band put together by Al Cooper. There he is, right there in the cover there. This is Child is Father to the Man, and kind of a cool, you know, 60s cover there, reminiscent of times. But if you look closely, it's kind of creepy. As you can see, all these, you know, looks like children are laps, but it's actually the band members' faces on the children. Kind of weird. Next up, we have Vince Busta Reptum, Blue Cheer. A lot of people, you know, will say this is the, you know, first heavy metal album. It predated Black Sabbath's album by 2 years. This was released in 1968. Very heavy album, very distorted. Great power trio. Up there with Cream, I think, in, you know, some of the greatest power trios. And this is an original copy. Like I said, released in 1968 in pretty good shape. Yeah, I believe this is original copy. Don't quote me on it, but I believe this is the original copy. I remember looking it up when I bought it. Next up, Blue Oyster Cult, one of my favorite albums by them, Secret Treaties. Features 3 of my favorite Blue Oyster Cult songs, Career of Evil, Flaming Telepath, and Astronomy. And this is an actual a promotion, you know, promo copies. This, as you can see there, it says demonstration, not for sale. But someone sold it because I bought it. Next up, Boston. Their amazing debut album. one of the greatest debut albums of all time. This is actually a copy I bought myself. I know my uncle had one, but it was kind of beat up. You know, obviously it was listened to so much, so I replaced it. This is a later pressing, as I could tell by the UPC there, as the original copies. It's had to be probably early to mid '80s to have that UPC on it, because they were never around in the '70s. Next up, we have the follow-up. Great album, Boston Don't Look Back. Unfortunately, when your debut is that strong, anything else you do has to be compared to it, and this falls short of being as great as the debut album, but overall it's still a masterpiece, still an amazing album. Next up, we're going to get to David Bowie. This is Man Who Sold the World. This is the United States re-release on RCA Records in 1972 after the rise of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars blew up. They were repressing and they were just putting everything with Bowie out. As you can see, it's a different cover. The original cover from the United States featured, United Kingdom featured Bowie dressed as a woman laying on a couch, or Bowie in drag or whatever. So yeah, The Man Who Sold the World, amazing album. Very underrated. It's very heavy. Mick Ronson's guitar in here is just great. Obviously, Nirvana would cover The Man Who Sold the World and make it a huge hit again in the 90s. And then we have Hunky Dory, another great album. My favorite, one of my favorite albums of all time, along with my favorite Bowie album, Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. And again, everyone, these are original pressings or original vinyl. These aren't modern day 180 gram repressings, but there are some, and I'll let you know which ones are. Aladdin Sane. Then we have the compilation Changes One. Little dirty there, a little watermark on it, but overall it's okay. And speaking of 180 grams, we have the great Grace by Jeff Buckley, released in 1994. This is the 2010 repress. Really amazing album. His only studio album, unfortunately, before he passed away. Next we have The Byrds, Greatest Hits. This was released in 1967. As you can tell by the cover there, Sign of the Times. And this was a bargain bin find I had. I think it was $1. It's a little damaged there. This is Best of the Byrds Volume 2. But this is cool because it has their more, kind of southern rock songs on there. Jesus Just Alright, Chestnut Mare, Wasn't Born to Follow, You Ain't Going Nowhere. So more of those Americana songs that I really love from the Byrds. My favorite period of the Byrds. Alright, next we're going to get into C's. Starting with another one of the greatest debut albums of all time, The Cars, with their self-titled debut. And then we have the follow-up, Candy-O. And then we own one by Cheap Trick on vinyl. And of course, it's got to be this one at Budokan, one of the greatest live albums of all time. And then we have, I have two pressings of, one of these is original, Chicago Transit Authority. I kept two, I'll probably give one away to someone. There's the back cover. But obviously this is Chicago's debut album. They were known as Chicago Transit Authority at the time, and then they just went by Chicago. And also their second album, which is my favorite, Chicago 2. As you can see, there's a little different there in colors. This is the original pressing, and this is a later pressing. As you can see, it was just named Chicago, self-titled at the time. But this one, now it goes by Chicago 2, but this one actually said, as you can see there, Chicago 2 on the spine. Next up, from my hometown of Philadelphia. Great band, Cinderella, with their debut album, Night Songs. This is original 1986 pressing. These guys kind of get thrown in that hair metal genre when they're much more, as anyone, could tell you. Great metal band. And they, more like in the hard rock vein, also like the Rolling Stones. Next up, Eric Clapton, his debut album. Such an iconic cover for me. I don't know, it's just, Clapton there sitting in a guitar, or sitting in a chair with his guitar. We have the classic 461 Ocean Boulevard, another cool cover. Live album, EC Was Here. Got some cleavage on the back there. Another iconic cover, another iconic album, Slow Hand, which was Clapton's nickname. And then there you see the back. So when this folds up, you kind of get a little cool picture there of Clapton jamming on the guitar. Next we have my favorite Alice Cooper album, Love It to Death. This is the edited cover. The original cover had, Alice Cooper just, kind of putting his finger out there, almost mimicking like a penis. And as you can see here, includes their hit, I'm 18, but other great songs on here, like Caught in a Dream, Hallowed Be by Name, Is It My Body, Long Way to Go. And then I had the follow-up, Killer. Some ring around there, but another amazing album by Alice Cooper. Love that album. And School's Out. I have it sideways because of the spine. This actually folds into a desk. I'm gonna take it out, but yeah, it folds into a desk. For me, this album's a little weak compared to what came before it and after it, from Killer and to $1 Billion Babies, which I'm gonna show now. So that Killer, School's Out was a little weak for me. I obviously featured School's Out with an amazing song, but this is another amazing album from Alice Cooper. One of his best works, $1 Billion Babies. That's just a sticker that was ripped off on the cover there. This folds out. It's got a big, it's got like a little, almost like a money, big dollar bill with Alice Cooper on it. Then we have his first solo album without the Alice Cooper band, Welcome to My Nightmare. And I'm a big Alice Cooper fan, so. Also this one from the inside, this actually folds out. And as you can see, the back door there opens up. Kind of showcases like an insane asylum inside. Next, Country Joe and the Fish. Feel Like I'm Fixing to Die. As you can see here, it says, contains giant full color fish game. I do not have it. Did not come with this vinyl. And I've actually never even seen it sold. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, probably for a decent price. But I've never actually seen the game, which came with it. Next up, probably the greatest power trio of all time, Cream. This is their debut album, Fresh Cream, featuring Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, and of course Eric Clapton. Their follow-up, such an iconic cover, Disraeli Gears, such an iconic album, released in 1967. Wheels of Fire, the double LP. This features the first LP, which is all studio tracks, and the second LP is all live tracks, which is just only 4 live tracks, but they're pretty long songs. And then their last studio album, Goodbye Cream. Yeah, I do say studio album, but there are 3 live songs on here. There's 2 on side 1 and Sitting on Top of the World. Another live song that opens up the second side. Next up, Live Cream, Volume 2. And then we're getting the Creedence Clearwater Revival. This is Bayou Country. Again, great shape. But a little ring around the cover there. And my favorite by CCR, Willie and the Poor Boys. This belonged to my uncle. Such a cool album, man. It just ends with Effigy, which one of my favorite songs of all time. Such a heavy rocket song. And this I had from an uncle, but it was kind of beat up, so I replaced it later on, and has a little bit of damage on it, but I think this was given to me for free. The vinyl's in great shape. In my opinion, one of the greatest hits compilations of all time. And this one's something reminiscent of my childhood. Bing Crosby, Merry Christmas. Crosby, Stills and Nash with their debut album. And the follow-up, which they added Neil Young on, this is Deja Vu. And then we have, this is So Far, which is a compilation. At the time, this was cool because it featured Ohio on there, and Find the Cost of Freedom. So yeah, basically this is a combination of the first 2 albums, the greatest hits off of both of them, Crosby, Stills and Nash and Deja Vu, featuring Neil Young. Next up, 180 gram repress of The Cure's Disintegration. This is a really cool sounding vinyl. 2010 reissue, and the vinyl is really thick. It has great sound, great colors, really good shape. I bought this brand new and kept it in really good shape. All right, that's it with the C's. Now we're getting in with the D's, and we're only going to go through 2, and then part 3 we'll continue with the D's. So we have Roger Daltrey with his solo album. I believe it's just called Daltrey. Yeah, just called Daltrey. It's okay. Not as strong as any of the Who albums, but it's okay to hear. You know, it's Roger's voice on it, so he's got the power of his voice, but unfortunately not the songwriting with Pete Townshend. And last one for this video, Miles Davis with the great Sketches of Spain. I believe this was released in 1961, I want to say. I may be wrong. 1961 or 1960 or 1961. Sketches of Spain, such a great jazz album. This says in there, arranged and conducted by Joe Evans, and then we got the liner notes on the back there. Really cool album, and really cool that I found this like a really good price, and it's a an early pressing, if not original. It looked like it may have belonged to a library or something. But anyway, that'll wrap up part 2 of my complete vinyl collection. Coming back with part 3. Like I said, we'll continue with D's and we're going to go through G. So like I said at the top of the video, if you did not subscribe already, please hit that subscribe button. And to all my subscribers, past and present, and ones that subscribed since day one, I want to say thank you very much. I appreciate you watching the videos. I appreciate all your comments. I love reading your comments of what you're ranking. I love your suggestions. And overall, I just want to say thank you. And stay tuned for part 3. Gary Elysiums. See you in the next video.